Thank you for tuning in to the Afternoon Pint Podcast. Our show will start right after these messages from our sponsors.
Hey, Matt. We're thinking of selling our home and finding a bigger place.
Oh, really? I thought you guys loved where you lived.
Oh, we do. Our family is just growing. With pets. A dog, a cat, 2 guinea pigs, a hamster.
And you're planning on getting more?
Maybe a goat or a crocodile.
Well, I have the person for you. Kimmy Najad is an experienced real estate agent who prides herself in finding the perfect home for her clients.
We're just browsing now. I'm not sure if we really need a realtor yet.
Yeah, no worries. Kimmy can help you with the comparative market analysis to help you determine the value of your home if you're planning on selling, or help you determine the going rate for the neighborhood you're moving into. She can also work at your pace.
Awesome. All right, I'll give her a shot. What's her phone number?
On Facebook, Kimmy Najad, Exit Realty Metro. Her phone number is 902-880-8429, and her email is kimia@exitmetro.ca.
902-880-8429. Awesome. Thanks.
This podcast was brought to you by Dan Lomas. That's LOMAS of lomasfinancial.ca.
Are you a small business owner who wants to keep more of your hard-earned profits and pay less taxes to the CRA? Do you want to plan for a comfortable and secure retirement? If your answer is yes, then you need to talk to Dan Lomas at Lomas Financial.
Dan Lomas is a financial advisor who has been helping successful entrepreneurs and business owners for over 2.5 decades. He utilizes customized solutions that can help you keep your earnings, dramatically reducing passive income tax.
Dan Lomas and his team will help you transition corporate wealth into personal wealth by utilizing customized executive pension plans. Dan will show you how to convert business wealth into personal wealth in a professional manner.
Don't let the CRA take more money than they deserve. Don't let your retirement dreams fade away. Contact Dan Lomas today and let him guide you on your path to financial success.
Visit Dan Lomas at lomasfinancial.ca or call him direct at 902-209-0855. That's 902-209-0855.
Cheers!
Cheers. Yeah.
Welcome to the Afternoon Pint. I'm Mike Tobin.
And I am Matt Conrad.
And who do we have with us today?
I'm Giles Crouch.
Giles Crouch.
Yeah.
A digital anthropologist.
Digital anthropologist.
That is a cool title.
That's an exciting name.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Very good question.
He doesn't know.
I've been trying to figure it out for 10 years now. It means you go back into your years when you're really young and you did an education in cultural anthropology and then run off and do marketing stuff for about 25 years. And then you realize, oh, this is what you're really interested in, is technology and how humans use technology. And well, that's when I discovered this world of digital anthropology. So it's just cultural anthropology with a digital lens.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's quite fascinating, right? Like, really, what you're trying to do is kind of connect humans, or marry humans and technology, or creativity, or does that sound accurate? Or
Yeah, really, I focus on the digital world. So what are online communities? What does it mean what is our identity in a digital age? Like in the time of AI agents coming into our society, what does it mean to be, have your online persona versus your offline persona? We live in two worlds. I call it a phygital world.
Yeah.
Right? So physical and digital, they've come together. So it's,
Totally.
What does that mean to us as humans? And so much, and technologies all around us, the digital technologies. And technology is a part of being human. Right? It's always what it's meant to be. We've co-evolved. The method that humans chose to survive a few 100,000 years ago was co-evolving with biology. So it's a genetic and cultural co-evolution, because biology evolutionary is really kind of slow. And when it was the time of the Ice Age and we're getting kind of chilly and we can't grow our hair fast enough and our beards fast enough. And I think that someday that there was this woman, she's standing outside of the cave and she's going, man, it's really cold. But that bear is kind of okay. And maybe I can take his skin and make my own fur.
Yes.
Right? And then off they went and they got the fur, and that was the beginning of technology, right?
Sure.
Banging rocks together and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And so we've co-evolved with technology. We cannot survive without technology.
Right.
Like we just can't do it. So
And
That's really kind of what made us the superior species on this planet is our intelligence and our ability to develop.
and opposable thumbs. The dolphins would have done it, but they just had no hands.
So long and thanks for the fish, right?
Yeah, that's right.
The answer was 42.
Yeah, that's right. There you go.
Yeah.
Shout out to Hitchhikers of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
But going back, first I should address where we are. Great Roads Brewing. Thank you so much for having us here once again. And I always address the beers we're drinking quickly. So I'm having the Smashing Blonde Ale, the one that you named, the beer that you named way back in 2023.
Cool. Yeah, sure. Let's go then. Yeah, something like that. I'm having the 7-day IPA. I just felt like having a nice big IPA today.
There you go.
I'm having the naughty or nice stout because I'm naughty and not nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
How you enjoy it?
Yeah, I am. It's lovely. It's
nice, rich taste.
Yeah,
yeah,
it really is.
Yeah. So that's a Christmas beer, but they still have lots of it. So
Okay, well, Christmas in June.
Doesn't
right?
matter. Yeah,
it's all right.
Yeah.
Christmas in June.
Still a good beer.
Yeah.
You can drink it anytime.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning, guys. So how it seemed like you had a pretty interesting career.
Yeah.
So you how long have you been in Nova Scotia?
We came here in the 1980s. We first came to Montreal in 1971, I think it was. It was the middle of the FLQ crisis.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, there was tanks on the street. I'm like,
Jeepers.
oh, Dad, this is cool. Like, not understanding what the heck was going on.
Right.
And then we hightailed it back to the UK for a couple of years. And then we went back to Montreal. And we lived in Quebec for several years, and then we came to Nova Scotia in the early 80s, and I've been here ever since. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, and I love it. I think that's why I've stayed. I love the province, I love the people, and I wouldn't really want to live anywhere else.
And where did you get your start with your career, getting to a digital anthropologist? Where if somebody's listening today, how do they get to where you are
how do
now?
I become a digital anthropologist?
Well, anthropology has got so many subfields. You've got economic anthropologists today. You've got, of course, forensic, and most people think anthropology is all old bones and stuff.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
That's paleoanthropology.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's forensics, which often works within like CSI kind of stuff. But I got into it doing my education in cultural anthropology, and then what do you do after that, right? And it's the late 80s, early 90s, and so I got into sales. I was selling phone systems, business phone systems, and it was really interesting. I was in with a client, and I was selling them a business phone system and voicemail.
Okay.
In the early days.
Yeah.
And I went into this office, and the secretary that I'd gotten to know, she was really sort of pissy at me, and she didn't really want to talk to me, and we'd often gotten along. So I said, I went into the COO who was making the decision. I said, what's wrong? And she says, well, she's really upset about the voicemail system because it's going to have an auto attendant. So we're going to have to let her go.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh my God, I just cost this lady her job, right? And it was like, the lights went off, the impact of technology.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I said, I can't do this. And in my head. And then I looked at him, I said, well, hang on. And I said, what else does she do for you? I said, she's more than answer the phone. He said, oh, she does all our filing and all the rest of it. And she, coordinates the office staff and keeps things going. And I'm like, so who's going to do that? And he says, well, I don't know. I said, well, why does she need, now she's going to have more time to do her job.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
he said, well, hang on a minute. Because I said, I really don't feel comfortable doing this deal with you. Although, hey, I needed the sales. I'm a young guy. I got a baby on the way. And, so he went out, and then he came back about 10 minutes later, and he said, we just decided to promote her to office manager.
There you go.
There you go.
You created the position's office manager.
Yeah.
You know what though? Like,
amazing,
isn't that like the thing that we see over and over again? I think that's something that history repeats over and over and over again constantly with that, because it's like, everyone's worried about when technology comes in and they're worried about what it's going to replace and what's going to happen. Like, the biggest thing that I think is the hot topic right now is self-checkouts.
Yeah.
It's like, what are we going to do with, these cashiers are not going to have jobs anymore and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe that may be the case,
Well,
but
they're not working. Walmart's taking them out. So
yeah, well, that's true too. In Ottawa, they stripped them out completely.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, because of theft.
I
think it's because people are like, one for me, one for you, one for me, one for you.
Sorry, Galen, but I got to feed the family.
I'll tell you one thing: the dollar store one in particular has gotten a few middle fingers from me because I get so mad with the dollar store machine. I'm like, I've only been there like every time I go to the dollar store one, it always fails.
Every single time I go to anyone, they fail. They hate me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I have to go get checked, and the guy has to come in and scan it. It's a big thing.
That's your electronic signals, right, from your body.
And I don't think they're bad things. Like if I have like one or two items, like I'll try to go there, and I think that's fine.
Yeah.
My thing is like if you are buying all of your groceries.
Groceries
and you go there,
are a pain in the
honestly,
ass.
you are the person who like went to a drive-in and ordered like 16 things.
Yeah.
It's like don't do that.
Yeah.
Just don't. And then if you've got produce, right, and then you got to try to find the code and weigh it. And do all
Don't do
other
that.
Stuff. Yeah.
Don't do that either.
Yeah.
It's a tough job.
Exactly.
Right?
It's the same
If they were
person.
paying me, I'd do it.
Yeah.
It's the same person, and if this is you, then just like listen very carefully. If you buy lottery tickets en masse, do not stand in the line
Oh,
and get the
man.
person to check
Oh,
them.
you're really airing it all out
Yeah.
today.
Oh, throwing it out there.
That's a pet peeve of mine too. It happens to be all the time.
Seriously, it's
Going
like, I just want to buy gas.
Yeah.
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 Come on.
She's like, I got 6 more, and she, like,
Yeah.
it drives
Yeah.
me nuts.
Just use the scanner. It's not a conspiracy. They work. The self scanner works the same as the one their attendant does it.
You can do it.
Wow. So you already struck a chord with Matt.
Yeah, exactly. You've already hit it right there.
But no, it's funny though. So back to what you're saying about the story though. I mean, you actually had an article recently about this. I looked on your Medium.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. You're writing some really interesting stuff.
Yeah,
And
almost
you're
54,000 followers.
and you're pumping them out every few
awesome.
days.
Yeah.
Like another, I couldn't read them all. I read 3 or 4, and I said, "Geez," but I mean, there's a lot I want to get back to. But one of the articles that you wrote recently, I think this year, was technology and how we should be a little less fearful of it replacing humans.
Yeah.
Right.
It won't take jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
It will and it won't. It'll change jobs. Is I think what you're saying. Yeah.
It's going to change them. Yeah, we've always assumed, and it goes back a long time. Like in the late 1800s, they passed laws in the states preventing trying to prevent manufacturing technology because they thought it would take jobs, and farming jobs, and all the rest of it. And then, of course, Ford came along and mass manufacturing, and the biggest job losses weren't humans; they were horses.
Yes, that's right.
The estimate is like 20 million horses.
Right.
Like we're out of a job.
There's like two thoughts on it. Like I do agree with you, but I do understand the paranoia because the difference between today and back then is companies are so much bigger, and I think there's a real fear if these gigantic organizations don't need humans anymore.
Yeah, well, automation has always been there in the workplace. Taylorism, for example,
Sure,
right?
yeah,
That was
yeah.
the whole idea of it, was automation as much as you could. I mean, it was really nasty back in the early days of Taylorism. Like they literally monitored and measured every single job someone did.
Brutal.
Like looking at their repetitiveness and how could they make them more repetitive and faster at what they were doing. And it was pretty horrid. But Max Weber, a sociologist, said back in, I think it was 1909 or something, he said, the more technology that we create, the greater the division of labor. And it's really held true because every time we've introduced a revolutionary technology, it's always increased the number of jobs. But the downside is it creates specialization.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is like you create things where it's like, you may not. They don't need cashiers anymore at Sobeys, but they need someone to build and design and do IT on those specific things.
Right, better security systems.
Better
ways
security
so Mike
systems.
doesn't get stuck on the Dollarama for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
trying to
So
bring out
you're right.
chips.
There is specialization
Yeah.
that comes in. So like in that case, picking a trade becomes even more important. Picking a role it becomes more important.
And that can be dangerous too. Like you look at a prompt engineer today. I mean, 2 years ago, what was a prompt engineer? That job didn't even exist. And now it does. And they're saying, well, they're getting paid $200,000 or $300,000. But as the AI gets better, you're not going to need a prompt engineer anymore.
I'll tell you, creativity is something I'm excited about.
Yeah,
When
me
I
too.
start thinking my way around it, like I'm a creative guy, and my whole life, I'm always looking for a creative soul, such as Matt, like a good friend that I trust, that I want to do a project with. And I love it when you find a friend with a liked interest and we can do something together. But I'm still like, I have a script that I want to write. I have this I want to do. I have that thing I want to do.
Yeah.
But now I have an AI digital assistant that can help me do that.
Exactly.
Right.
I joke with Matt that I wanted us to do a Christmas special, like, a very serious, funny, cheesy Christmas special where we incorporate all of our friends and ideas.
Reindeer.
Yeah, and now we can do it. Like now we can actually say, okay, we don't need a gigantic production team.
Nope.
We can work with ChatGPT. It can help us write the script and get out our mannerisms, and we can fine tune it, and then, geez, we can have a product in no time.
Yeah.
I think the worry is though, like I think anyone, at least in our generation, that like kind of late Gen X / early millennial or whatever kind of era, is we grew up with Terminator. So that right there immediately terrifies everybody. They're like, nope, this is how we all die.
So totally
No
true.
one named their kid John Connor.
Matrix was one of my favorite movies, like
Yeah.
of all time.
Awesome
Like
movie.
you know,
Yeah.
it's one of the top. Still one of my favorite movies. I just watched it with my 12-year-old.
Oh,
And
nice.
she loved it.
Yeah,
right.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except for she made a very political comment on the gun use and the relation to schools, which I did not put any disclaimer out. She said that to herself. She's like, "Gosh, these guys are dressed like school shooters." She said.
Wow. Or
That's
yeah,
scary.
That's where
Scary-
school
scary.
shooters got the idea from.
Yeah,
Maybe that's
yeah.
probably
It's
more
scary.
like it.
Yeah, but she totally saw that in the show on herself. But that was scary. But other than that, it was a fun watch.
I love AI. I think there's a lot of good uses for it, and it's helped with disease detection and healthcare and all the rest of it, of course. But then you've got all the fear-mongering side, the Terminator side of things, right?
Yeah.
You've got Jeffrey Hinton railing off about it, and Musk, AGI is going to
Musk,
be here,
yeah.
In a year or two. Absolutely not. I'm very skeptical of that. But it's the mindset of the coder. If you understand the mindset of coders and computer scientists, they do absolutely brilliant work, as the products that they've made. But they tend to think everything is a problem to be solved, and they see things in terms of an algorithm. And humanity is not an algorithm.
Right.
That's culture on a diet. It's not the reality. To get to AGI, we simply do not have the energy available in the world. Like
Right.
we don't have enough water to cool the data centers to begin with, and we don't even have enough water for AI right now to cool the data systems. We don't have the processing power; it's nowhere near what it needs, and we don't have the memory capacity. Not only that, we don't even understand what consciousness is or intelligence is. So we don't have a definition for either of those. So just on the hardware, software side of things, it cannot work. But also on the humanity side of things, what it means to be human.
Right.
It doesn't mean AI can't be bad. The danger is what we do to survive, how we organize is through stories, right?
Yeah.
Religions are stories. And the only way to get a bunch of people, humans together to do something is stories. And we form a country of Canada because we tell a story of what Canada is. And we like those stories. And so 41 million of us say, I like the story of Canada. But you try to get 50 chimps together in a room and tell them what the story of Canada is, and they don't care. Like, you can't even organize chimps to go and pick bananas. But if you tell the right story to humans, we buy into the story, if enough of us buy into the story. But I can't see how AI can tell enough stories or tell a story that gets 1 billion humans to buy into it and then
Right.
go take over the world.
Right, and that was a criticism I've seen of the AI, like now. But I mean, I don't know how it'll evolve. I mean, but like right now, it's like when it comes to just saying like the mention of the creative, you
Yeah.
still need the creator, or you still need the artistic mind who has a vision to kind of say, "This is my vision. Help make it so."
Yeah.
Little machine, and then the machine will help you do that.
Yeah, I think that the worry is that people worry that, because technology is constantly advancing.
Right.
And, where we were 20 years ago is like we're vastly ahead of where it was before.
Sure,
kind of
yeah.
thing, right? I think, who was it? I don't even remember who was talking about it, but follow a few tech people and entrepreneurs online, and they were talking about from the moment that the car was invented, and it was like basically a luxury item, from the time that like basically horses were phased out and everyone owned a car was like 10, 12 years.
Yeah.
And this was 100 years ago, more than 100 years ago, basically. The way how fast things can go. So I thought it was really interesting. They were talking about, it might have been actually Elon Musk, because he was talking about electric cars. And he was saying like how fast things can change and so quickly that the targets of having everyone driving in electric cars by like 2030
Right.
could very well be possible, other than the fact that some people will just hang on just for the sake of hanging on.
Yeah.
Sure.
But the fact that we could get there in 6 years is quite reasonable that we could if we want to do it.
Right.
Because we're way ahead of what we were 100 years ago, and they did that in 12 years.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
could we do in 6, right?
We call that in anthropology, that's called the ratchet effect.
Okay.
Because we just keep ratcheting up the technologies.
Yeah.
And adding to them, and they compound and everything. Our smartphones are a combination of hundreds of technologies.
See, and I love, like, anyone who listens to the show knows how much I love Neil deGrasse Tyson. And,
Sure, yeah.
He's not just talks about space, he talks about everything, like he does predictions and things like that. And I love the predictions of what he thinks, like, what we'll have by 2050. And I
Yeah.
love that because it just opens my mind. Like, I am not a scientist, but I feel like I can grasp a small percentage of what they are talking about. and I find it really interesting, and I try to read as much as possible. So when I listen to these people who are really, really intelligent, and they talk about the cool things, and I try to understand it, I'm just fascinated, right? And
Do you ever listen to Ray Kurzweil? Ray Kurzweil? Kurzweil?
I met him once.
oh,
met
really?
him?
We brought him to
yeah.
Halifax for the Big Data Congress in
Yeah.
2017.
I read his
No
one of
way,
his
okay.
How to Create a Mind. I mean, I remember reading that, and I mean, I couldn't understand it. I mean, page for page. I mean, I'll be
Yeah,
honest with you.
a lot I couldn't understand either, yeah.
I took me. I mean, I'd be sitting there googling what the frick does this mean every second paragraph. But what a
Yeah.
fascinating read! And that dude was right so many times.
Well, this is the thing. Is like guys make these predictions.
Yeah.
And it's like they make like 230 predictions, and
Yeah.
and they get like 9 wrong.
Yeah.
Right. It's like it's crazy. I mean, of course you can get
It
things
is.
wrong, right? But
Yeah. So how'd you meet him? Sorry.
So
Yeah.
it was a big data congress through Dalhousie, Faculty of Computer Science, and we brought it. It was a big conference, and we brought him in, and it was really weird. Like he needed bodyguards, so we had to hire a
Oh, wow.
armed police.
Now, was
off-duty
that
police
paranoia?
officer.
Do you think he needed them, or do you think it was
because
necessity?
his ideas, like how we would transfer. Think if we could take our mind and put it into a computer, was
Right.
one of his
Right.
ideas.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now think about that from, religious perspective.
Right.
When
Yes.
how do you live
Oh,
forever?
so
and all
who's
the
the
rest of it.
zealots and stuff?
They saw him that
yeah.
way, and so there were some of these far right or fundamentalist religious types. They made threats against him. So
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, this is Halifax. Like,
Yeah, we don't necessarily have that.
Yeah,
here,
it's
but-
not-
Yeah. Not
Although
as
these
sensationalized
days-
as parts
Yeah.
of.
So he needed an
US.
armed guard, and
Wow.
he came in, and part of the deal was that the main conference sponsors got to spend 30 minutes with him. But my job was to sort of guide him through the trade center and keep him company while he was here.
Yeah.
And with the armed cop, who was a really super nice guy, and but Kurzweil, do you know what he does every day? He eats 200 vitamin pills.
200.
There's
flight
another guy
minutes.
doing that too now. I've been watching,
Oh, yeah.
obsessing on him online.
Why?
Well, because they want to live forever.
Yeah,
Well,
but yeah,
They,
but,
or they want to look young. They want to kind of keep their body.
but
from
your body can
actually
only absorb
aging.
so much vitamins, then you just piss it out
Well,
anyway.
there's
Yeah.
another guy trying to biohack himself, and he's a multimillionaire.
I've seen
What's
these
his
people.
name?
I
$2
know.
million a year or something.
Yeah.
on
Yes,
biohacking?
yes, yeah.
And he gets his son's blood transfused.
Oh man, like
Some of that technology.
What's his name? I can't
remember. His
I
name.
can't remember
But
either.
some of that
Yeah.
technology, like this is the thing, is like taking your mind out and putting it in a computer is one thing that we,
Yeah.
we may very well be able to do. at
I
some
feel
point.
that's an accomplishable goal. Through
Well, it's going to
I
be
mean,
quite like
some-
that. But I kind of like listening to not just Neil deGrasse Tyson, but someone else. They talked about how by like 2050, 2060, immortality could be achieved. Because and it's a lot to do with the ironic part about it is that it's actually cancer that they're learning from, because cancer grows.
Yeah.
And as it grows, it essentially gets stronger.
Right.
And like we have, I can't remember, like they're like genomes or something like that, and they have these tips, they're protective tips, and as those get worn down, we age.
Right.
And that leaves us
Yeah.
open to susceptible for other things. But in cancer, they actually fortify as it grows.
Hmm.
So it does the opposite of what we would normally do. So cancer could actually be the key to immortality if they can actually teach and learn our body to
It's
get
the-
them to do those things.
Right.
So
Yeah.
unless you get into a car accident or something like that, or someone like kills you, you could essentially live forever at an age where you would want to live at.
Which I think we're more likely to get there than we are to transfer our brains to a substrate.
You
I
think
agree.
so?
That's,
eh?
Yeah, that's what that's where I was
Yeah.
going with
Because
that.
what they've learned now, like that gut-brain connection that they've discovered. So
Right.
The whole idea that, our brains are separate. It's the idea of human exceptionalism. And you transfer that to the brain. Oh, we'll just take the brain out. The body doesn't matter. Well, now we know that what goes on in the gut matters for the brain.
Yeah.
So it's all and they don't even know exactly where or how we store memory.
Yeah.
Like one of the theories is that we store some of our memories in our bodies, in our muscles.
muscle memory.
Muscle
Yeah,
memory,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And the other one is that a book called The Field, that maybe they're actually stored outside of our head, and we can.
Is that where we get the cloud from?
Yeah, that's where we get the cloud from. Now we're getting into the woo-woo side.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
things, right?
Wow,
But there's so much that we still don't know, and I think that's what's
crazy what we don't know.
so exciting. Yeah.
Well, if turtles can live for like 400 years, why not us?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basking sharks. There's
Yeah.
one swimming around the ocean that's been there since the 1600s.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like we can probably get to that point. It's just like, we gotta probably, there's lots of things we gotta change and do, but science is getting
stop eating potato chips.
maybe that.
yeah.
But science is getting so far, like it's getting developed more and more. Now I think then you throw in the conspiracy theorists of like, well, no one will ever want that to happen.
Actually, you
don't buy that.
hypothesized as your 200-year life article.
Yes.
Shout out to Medium
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
We'll put a link on this episode
sure, yeah.
just for
Yeah.
fun.
So what's the 200? Explain the 200-year life.
So if we get to living to 200 years, well, what does that mean, right?
Right.
Do we want to be married for 175 years to the same person?
Oh, that's an interesting thing.
Right?
Retirement.
So what happens to marriage?
Right.
Right. Does it become contractual? Like, okay, we'll do a 10-year agreement, see how it goes at the end of it,
Right.
and then figure
I think
it
it should be contractual now, 3 years at a time.
Yeah, 3 years at a
and
time.
Just have a little meeting once a year. And,
Yeah. So, but what does that do to religions? Then what does religions, there's so many views of death, right? We have Christian view of death, Hindu, Buddhist, right?
There's
so many
3,000 different.
ideas. And so if you live much longer, and we have ancestor worship across many societies, not so much in Western culture, but in a lot of Asian cultures and indigenous
Yes.
peoples, right? First Nations, ancestor worship and respect for our ancestors goes back thousands of years. It's beautiful and wonderful. So what does that mean if you're not going to die? Like if you're going to be living like 10 generations living in the same family, right? Like, what does that look like? What does it mean for jobs?
But I think that opens things up, and it's true. Like we would have to change the definition of retirement. We'd have to change a lot of things in our society. But
Yeah.
that being said, though, like I see that as that's a huge advantage because we are humans are natural like adventurers.
Yeah.
And knowing what we know about science and physics right now, and like how we get across space.
Yeah.
Sorry about the noise, guys. Can't really control
Yeah.
that, so we'll just go with it.
So yeah, with what we know about traveling through space is like we wouldn't be able to live long enough to get anywhere.
Yeah.
But if we can live long enough to get somewhere, like maybe that's something we can do. Maybe, you spend 200 years, 300 years on Earth, and then you say, you know what, sign me up. I'm going to go to the next planet
Mars
system
and-
over. Not even
yeah.
Mars. Go to the next system over.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'll take a 10,000-year journey to whatever.
Put me in cryo-sleep and off I go.
Right. And then
Yeah.
off you go, and then you can explore. And there's all these other things. I mean, with technology, there's less things that we'll have to do. I mean, look at Star Trek, right? Like, people
Yeah.
have quote-unquote jobs as captain and all that stuff, but it's a status thing. It's not, no one gets paid.
Yeah.
Food is just, appears in front of you.
Yeah.
Money doesn't need to have to happen. Like,
Nobody
everyone
gets
just
paid in
has-
Star Trek?
No. It's
Never even thought of that.
why would you need it?
Yeah.
Literally everything
It's
you
a
need is in front of you.
meritocracy.
Han Solo was all about a check in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Well, those are two very different things, right?
Yeah. Pure capitalism versus almost this socialist sort of utopian idea.
Exactly.
We've always had this dream of utopia or a dystopia. We've never had both. We've had sort of these quasi-dystopias.
We kind of live in both
fascism.
in a sense, though, don't we?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know.
Half-assed.
We have
half-assed.
capitalism and we have socialism.
Yeah.
Here, alive and well in Canada.
Yeah.
Some are doing better than others.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, although I'd argue in some ways we're more socialist. So are the Nordic countries. The Nordic countries are always called socialist, but they're actually more capitalist than they are socialist. I mean, you pay for everything in those countries.
Right.
Plus high taxes.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
definitely high taxes in like through the Scandinavian countries and things like that. Yeah, 100%.
But they see the benefits as a result. And we have the free healthcare and the benefit. I think capitalism is about to change because of technology. We see the financial systems. We have all these big, huge systems they're under pressure right now.
Right.
Sociocultural systems. So cryptocurrencies are coming in. They're in a winter right now, rightly so, and all the scams and everything. But we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
So we're going to change monetary systems. We'll change what capitalism means. We're already in that now. Yanis Varoufakis, I probably got his name wrong. He was a former Greek minister, wrote a book on it, and he calls it feudalistic capitalism or whatever. I can't remember it, but it's basically returning to a feudalistic system.
Okay.
Is where we are today. So we'll get through that. It was the economist Carlotta Perez, and she came up with this whole theory of technological revolutions. And they work in cycles of 50 and 60 years. We think the technological revolution we're going now was driven by the microchip. And the microchip was invented in the 70s.
Yeah.
So we're bang in that 50, 60 year window. And with that goes the movement of financial capital. And she has a brilliant mind. She's figured this all out. It's a very short book, but I highly recommend it.
Okay.
And
The book name again, I'm sorry?
Technological Revolutions and Financial Capital.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah. The financial capital bit, I kind of got a little bit dozy, but
Yeah.
But we've reinvented systems. Like before this, we had feudalism. Before that, we had hunter-gatherer, and we've always
right.
actually preferred egalitarian systems. to capitalistic systems. And versions of capitalism has existed for thousands of years. The Egyptians were very good at even the Andean societies. They had what was called the quipo, which was an early version of blockchain. And it was basically a bunch of strings with knots tied in it. And the number of knots tracked your debt to the kingdom.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they could track your property ownership, how much you owed for your mortgage.
Wow.
We're talking here 1,500 years ago.
Oh my God.
Right, that was the early idea of blockchain.
I never thought it went back that far.
Yeah, it does, right? And the first time we started writing, what did we write? First time we started writing,
Loans.
kind of.
Yeah.
The first writing that we used into stone tablets was record keeping for granaries and food production.
No way.
Yeah,
Is that what it was? Okay.
That's
wow.
what we do. I like to think, hey, we wrote poetry and sonnets and stuff.
Yeah.
No.
No. We needed to prove that we owed something to someone.
Isn't
Yeah.
it's so weird that we have this, that we have like, I mean, value and like whatever monetary, whatever way you want to take it, this monetary value seems to always have been there. There's always been a trade system, whatever. That being said, though, you know, everyone you always hear the expression that cash is king, but honestly, like the more I think about money, I kind of feel like you know, money's just not real.
Well, it's a story.
It's all made up. It's like we made our system up. Like we have this thing where it's like, well, what, you know, people just print money or whatever, right? It's like, well, why don't we just make everyone a millionaire? So we can't do that because of what? It's like, why can't we just do that? Like we literally could just go and print a bunch of money, and Canada could just print $1,000 bills and hand them out to everybody, and everyone's a millionaire now, and no one has to worry about food. I mean, and the thing is people would sit there and say like, oh, well, we'd have to worry about like no one would work. It's like, no, we're not retiring people.
Yeah.
We're just making them not poor.
Well, universal basic income.
Or basically that.
Is where
But
we get to.
but then like people get all worked up and say like, well, if we print a bunch of money, then our dollar goes down, and versus the world economy. And I kind of, you know, I'm not an economist. I don't know that, but there's a part of me that I'm like, we're Canada. We have all of the natural resources. I don't care what our dollar is worth. We'll make it up because it's like we're not selling you lumber or water without paying the price that we put on it.
Yeah.
So I should announce now that Matt Conrad is running for Prime Minister of Canada. So if you guys are liking
There
what
you
he's
go.
saying, he's
But I'm just, I just think it's so funny. It's like I kind of feel like I kind of had this realization. I did run for politics 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And I just and I think the thing I came across is like everything in our society is made up. We made it all up.
It's all stories.
Yeah.
So we can change it if we want to.
Yeah.
We just don't change it.
We do. We do change
we
it.
do.
We do change it a lot. We
Well,
don't
when we
change it
change the
to
story.
maybe the advantage of our perception. I always say that like the banking. I mean, not to say anything bad about the banking industry, but it's a little like playing Monopoly with a child, right? They're going to keep manipulating the rules so they win. Don't get it
Absolutely.
twisted,
Right. Yeah.
right? And you're always going to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, something might look great, but
Well, that's what casinos are, right?
same,
You're going to
same,
lose.
100%, right? Like,
But we could pull everyone out of poverty tomorrow if the bank if Trudeau just decides, and I'm just saying him because he's in power now, but
Sure.
if he decides to come out and just say, we're giving every single person in this country $100,000 cash.
yeah.
Doesn't matter if you have $10 million or
Jet skis for
$10.
everybody. Yeah.
Everyone's getting $100,000 right now. We're going to deposit into your account because the fact is that the actual money doesn't exist anyway. Like if you were to extract every dollar out of the bank, they wouldn't have enough to give us.
No.
It's all digital money anyway.
I mean, you cause instant deflation, and we wouldn't go, the global stage that we have to play on. And that's why it's all shifting now. We're trying to figure out a new system. And that's why there's so much tension in society between the grocery stores and, against Loblaws. And it's not Loblaws' fault for all of this, but society picks someone that they've got to bully. And
That's
so
right.
They
Loblaws
love a
became
bully.
the target.
We actually just
had Sylvain
professor.
Charlebois on Dr. Sylvain.
Oh, did you?
And people were really attacking him because he pointed out that he goes, attacking Loblaws is going to do a heck of a lot for you, right? I mean, for your cause, and
nothing.
I think that's a really fair statement.
I actually think the most interesting thing out of all of that we took from is the fact that Galen Weston is like the poster boy of who to hate.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was saying how, I can't remember his name, but the CEO and owner of Dollarama makes more than Galen Weston. and no one's calling for his head, and I don't even remember his name.
Right.
So, like, realistically, right? It's one of those
we
things.
weren't really that mad about it because
We weren't that mad about
when we
it,
actually
but-
learned about the systems that Dollarama operates on. We
That's
were a
right.
lot more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Dollarama
Right.
doesn't, quote unquote, try to rip people off.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest difference. That's
Same
why no
with
one's
Giant
mad.
Tiger, and yeah,
Right.
exactly. And they never put their CEOs out front. That was the daft mistake on the part of Loblaws.
100% too.
Putting
Yeah.
Galen Weston.
Well, he
as the
started
mascot.
when we were in the pandemic. Like I remember, like COVID, you're staying home, and all of a sudden I get a love letter from the grocery guy.
Yeah.
And I was
Don't
like, "What
care.
the hell is this?"
No, nobody cares. Like, no one cares about the CEO.
Talk about the biggest backfire in the world. I did not know who owned Loblaws until that guy
we were
decided
getting
to want
love
to be.
letters from
Yeah.
CEOs from all over the place. Actually,
Yeah.
in fairness to Galen, I mean, we were getting lots. I mean, it's been a difficult time at the time. And
Who could have predicted how that backlash would have gone?
Right.
But it's
Yeah.
so many things we predict in life. Why did Alexander Bell invent the telephone? Just off on a tangent.
Why? I don't know.
Yeah. To share opera music.
Oh, really?
Is
Yeah.
that what it is? Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
That
He
was
had-
his idea.
He had no
Okay.
idea he was going to connect people, and people would use it to actually have conversations, right? And
That'd be a
it
good
Jeez.
guy to go back in history and kill. Just
would.
think about how different the world would be.
was- and you think about
Someone else would have did it. Someone else was working on it consecutively.
there
at the
was
same time.
Gray, I think was his
Yeah,
name.
there were
Gray
people
Bar.
competing. Yes.
Bell got to the patent office an hour ahead of Gray.
Seriously?
That's the only reason that it's called Bell today, and that
Crazy.
Bell got the credit for inventing
Wow.
the telephone. Yeah, and Twitter. The reason that Twitter was invented was for paramedics to communicate with the ER on the way in the ambulance.
Twitter.
Yeah,
Oh.
that was its original intention. As
You know what?
technology.
Facebook was a dating site, so I mean,
Yeah.
it all things evolve. It's
Yeah,
true.
they do. And the
Yeah.
purpose they get invented for isn't really the reason we use them. Whoever did actually invent blockchain and crypto and subsequently cryptocurrency, who knows what the real intent and purpose was behind it. But yeah. So all of these things were in these current massive times of changes at this point in time.
Oh, yeah, I think it's very exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting. What happens is we go through huge revolutions, a lot of social upheaval, big systems get changed. That's always happened throughout history. And then we end up in a Gilded Age after that. We always
So let me ask you this, and you might not have this answer, and that's perfectly fine because I'm looking for it. Where do you think that an individual, say you're our age, you're younger, or
I'd like to
whatever,
be, yeah.
or whatever, yeah. But you're wondering, okay, so where do I go in this emerging world? What should I learn? What should I be prepared for? How do I get into a circumstance where I can, control AI or be on that side of the track, so I don't potentially lose in the future?
I think AI is going to become useful to us as a cognitive assistant, much the same as the printing press created the book.
Right. Or
what?
not different from an iPhone, how it already is. We
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
Siri or we Google or
I
whatever.
literally
right?
go on Facebook AI. We have a ton of fun on that. People don't like it, but I have a ton of fun.
So
on it.
do I.
I've not used it. I don't have Facebook on my phone.
No?
I refuse to. No, nor TikTok. 'Cause
Oh, wow.
the amount of data TikTok collects on you is insane.
I know.
It's even worse than Facebook.
Oh, I know. I know.
Yeah.
I'm not.
We
I'm not popular in
only
my
have
house for
TikTok
telling
for
people
this.
that.
We don't have a personal TikTok. We just have a TikTok.
Well,
for
it still
this.
knows
Yeah.
everything about us.
Yeah,
but-
exactly.
Yeah.
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 But that's the only reason. It was the last thing we did because we were like, oh, we have to. But anyway.
That's the challenge in marketing is that you got to be where your market is.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's interesting you say that you brought up the printing press. I sat in on a couple months ago on a presentation talking about AI and how it can help you in the workforce, and the guy who did it made a really interesting comment about how because of the dawn of AI and everything that's going to be able to happen and online and all that stuff, he made a comment saying that print is actually going to become more valuable and more important because how easily information will be and disinformation
Yep.
will be available and be able to be created, so that print will be the thing we'll almost have to rely on because we know AI can't touch it.
Exactly. Yeah, and I agree with that. I mean, even books last longer than any storage medium that we have today.
Yeah.
I mean, there's books that are thousands of years old. We still treasure them. Books are so deeply embedded in our cultural system. We're taught to revere
There's still a
them.
blast to read from the past too.
Yeah.
Like The Art of War is such a cool read, man.
Absolutely.
And it just
Yeah.
feels right off the page. But the same as music though too. When
Yep.
when it's the right music, it's timeless.
Yeah,
Right.
It is. So I think, if you're trying to skill today, you've got to think ahead to the future. Programming, software, coding isn't as, maybe as valuable. I
Right.
think a lot of IT jobs are going to get to be very mundane.
Yes.
And we're already starting to treat people in IT as almost like
a lesser class of employee.
Really?
They don't have that high status that they used
Well, like
to.
coding, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, how many years before that's not
Yeah.
really a thing, right? And you just
true,
tell the
yeah.
computer to code it.
So you're going to.
That's true.
Yeah, and you're going to oversee that coding. It's going to take a long time, probably 15, 20 years. But what's going to come back in is the arts, like that ability to write music, to write books and literature and music.
Podcasting.
And podcasting.
Let's hope.
I think podcasting is a cultural artifact is going to be around for a long time.
I think it's a phenomenon, and I hope it's
Yeah.
here to stay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
I love that
especially,
idea.
I mean, you know, what you're doing right now is, I mean, writing your Medium articles, it's studio journalism. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, it really is,
Yeah.
but they're very valuable, right? And it's funny, like when I read, you know, a bit of your bio, you worked with Wired, or you had stuff on Wired magazine
Yeah.
and all these other places. I'm like, those are all the magazines I used to read, right? And but used to is the word.
Yeah.
What happened? Well, paywalls and pop-up ads and reasons that I stopped going to their website as a
Yeah.
younger consumer of information.
The reading experience on sites today is brutal.
It
It's-
is.
it's
It
horrible.
is. I mean,
Yeah.
trying to read something on your cell phone when you got a pop-up ad on the top and the bottom, and then there's some friggin' video popping up, and you give up.
That is incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
I'm on I go to this page. It's called I Fucking Love Science. So I'm on that daily, right?
That's great.
Yeah.
And I love it. But
Yeah.
the thing is like, yeah, you get one on the top, one on the bottom. You have to exit out, and if you hit it accidentally, it takes you to the next page.
Yeah,
It's like, geez, just go away.
And if you're on your phone, they make them long now. So you
Yeah.
gotta, like, scroll down the ad. Yeah.
That being said, though, I probably wouldn't go
Yeah.
to I Fucking Love Science
Right.
every single day.
So, if you
if I
know
had to
that
pay
Giles
for
can
it.
get make a living wage off of just supporting him and his articles on his own site.
Quite a living wage, but pretty
But
close.
hey,
yeah. Yeah.
but I mean, you know,
You could if you
putting A and B
increased
and C
your-
together,
that's
right?
true.
right,
Yeah.
if you
Like-
increase your viewers.
I mean, what you're doing right now reminds us of kind of what we're doing with this. It's a side hustle in a sense.
Yeah,
it's a
it
creative
is.
side hustle,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I mean, I can't tell my girlfriend, "Hey, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to be doing this shit full time." She's going to be like, "What?"
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But we can do it.
Hold
as-
on, though. Maybe there's like Coca-Cola wants to sponsor this, and then we're
That's
good.
right. Yeah. Coors Light wants to just shut down all the microbreweries that we promote. They just give us a big check. We're like, we'll take it.
Yeah, we'll
Sorry.
take it,
Bahamas in February.
Sorry, microbreweries. You should have bought in earlier. Yeah, like I mean, take what we can get. But like, geez, you know, in the meantime, this is I think this is the creative art that we need. That we really need to support each other. And the support is a huge thing, like supporting other podcasts.
Absolutely.
And I learned that from like
Yeah.
Joe Rogan, and not the stand-up comedy world of the old, but the stand-up comedy world of the new.
Yeah. Yeah.
The old, they hated each other. It was "F you, I'm funnier," "That guy
Yeah,
sucks," and all this. But eventually, it came to a point where they all started helping each other. And
Yeah.
what happened is they created a tremendous network where they all started succeeding.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Independently.
And that's what cultures, or the aesthetic part of culture. And culture we often think is just arts and entertainment. That's the aesthetics part. It also includes military, economic systems, and all the rest of it.
Yes.
But I think AI could make us more human.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because in the end,
can see that,
we
yeah.
start to explore, okay, what does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be with this technology?
Internal questioning.
Right.
and stuff
Internal
like that.
questioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
We-
then back to those creative expressions, right? You can hear from more voices. I mean, so I might actually be able to get that screenplay out that I never had time for in a million years.
Yeah.
But now I do because I have an assistant that can literally help me write or manifest what I think.
Yeah.
Right?
And the creative elements come from LLMs, large language models, generative AI is only a repetition machine. So it's not really creating anything new. The new stuff comes from us. Every single technology in the world has been imagined by a human being.
Right.
It all came from
And
our
not
head.
only that, everything that you see is kind of sown from other ideas. I mean,
Right.
there's
I
not a
think-
lot of
Isn't the
purely
worry,
original
though,
thought.
Like,
No.
isn't the worry that the technology will get smart enough that it can start creating? Isn't that the worry?
I think we will see Universal make an AI movie in the next 10 years.
Probably,
That's 100% AI. Probably less than that.
Yeah.
I mean, and that'll piss people off.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll happen.
There are standards that we have towards stories. You know, there's the story arc that everybody likes and all the rest of it. But I think to get really originally creative, maybe AI will get there, but I don't think so because it doesn't have the cultural understanding and the historical understanding that we have as humans.
You know what? That's an interesting point that you kind of say there because I saw this clip and it was a quote about Denzel Washington and he was talking about how why he wanted a black director to direct his movie on, like, on this particular movie, and he said, and someone asked him, like, oh, did it have to be black skinned person to do this? And he made this really smart comment back where he said, it's not about the skin color, it's about the culture. And he talks about how,
Exactly.
I wanted that person who understands what it's like to get, like, a hot iron against your skin, against your hair, to, like, to those type, the smell, the feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, a black person would understand that. It's the culture.
Yeah.
So I like.
Totally makes sense what you're saying.
Yeah. So I thought it was really brilliantly put by Denzel.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. With,
And you
with AI.
can't emulate it because you can smell the stink in any creative project. The new Transformers movie.
Right.
Or whatever it may be, but you're watching it and you're like, none of this seems remotely like a real situation that anyone would ever be in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you could watch another movie that's also about robots and you're like, that seems completely plausible.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And what's the difference? Right. Well, I think the difference is the story and the culture, like
And
you
the
say,
culture
and like you say, like, it's totally.
Our identities
Are you brought
made
into the
up-
equation?
Yeah, and our identities are made up of the culture that we grew up in. And there are aspects to our personal looks. In indigenous cultures, they have really long hair, and that has a purpose for men to have really long hair, and a spiritual meaning to them. Right? For us, beards and bearded guys, and it's all fabulous and fascinating because we're all these different mashups. And AI cannot grasp culture, and that's what it means to be human.
Yeah. Huh.
Deep shit, man.
It is. I also just realized that I said the F word for the very first time.
That wasn't the first time.
Yes, it is.
No, it wasn't.
First time I ever said it.
Did you even say the F word?
Yeah, I did.
You should ask the
it's
AI.
shown on the website.
Yeah, run it
Yeah.
through the AI. It'll
But
tell
yeah,
you.
Yeah.
it's true. But no, it's true.
We
First time.
ran the Zoom AI
I
after
never-
a meeting last night. We had a Zoom podcast, and it summarized. I didn't say my name once in the whole thing. What did it call me? It called me the unnamed or
Unknown person.
the unknown person. And every time it referred to me in the summary, it said an unknown person.
Yeah.
And they're like, Matt had a conversation with unknown person. And, it was
So
pretty
it has
funny.
a long way to go. I mean,
Yeah,
it
it
certainly
does.
does a long
Yeah,
way to
but
go.
I mean, gosh, so far, in such a short time, it's
And that's
remarkable.
the thing is, like, it's like I sometimes do wonder. It's like, we so do you honestly you believe that the AI can never get to that point? Like, it can never get to the point where it could be so intelligent that it could tell
I don't know,
stories like us?
never that it can, but we don't have the ability to produce the energy to keep it going. We don't have the
Interesting.
storage.
You mean
power.
as its own entity that could come after
like
us or something?
We
you're saying,
literally,
okay.
we would have to put every single nuclear power plant and all the electrical systems that we have and
Right.
infrastructure in the world together, dedicated to that.
That's a good point. I never thought
I
about
like
that.
my microwave popcorn.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it up
Right.
for the AI.
No, you know what though? But that's a point I never really actually considered. Is that, like, the amount of energy it would take? Because I mean, we know that, like, the human brain is it's its own universe,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It's firing on its own, like, just like that. It's its own universe. Every human brain is like that, and the amount of energy that is in our brain could power
have
our solar system.
the most energy efficient system
Yeah.
in the world, energy producing system.
Yeah.
We literally run on electricity.
That's what the AI truly needs to learn is how to operate like these old puppies.
But we
are-
don't have
biological.
the energy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's why we as people are an anomaly.
Right.
We have to move beyond silicon to get to that.
Yeah.
And we're approaching that zenith right now where we just cannot cannot make better silicon. They're already looking at storage mechanisms in DNA, which would vastly improve that. So we will make significant leaps in processing capabilities, storage capabilities, and transmission capabilities because there's limitations on
And I
transport.
think we will use many forms of augmentation, I believe, in the
will.
future. Right?
Yeah.
Many. Like
I just came up with a crazy good movie idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
Just literally right here thinking about what it, because we were talking about the brain and AI. I think we need to do some sort of like AI zombie movie where AI starts eating human brains to power itself.
There you go. Hasn't been done. You got to think for a minute. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we are the batteries, right?
We are the
Matrix.
batteries.
Yeah, that
it's
was
eating
the
our
Matrix
brains.
movie. Yeah, the batteries. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But
Yeah.
not quite zombies though. That's good.
Yeah.
yeah. Everybody loves zombies.
I have much more hope for us because we always end up figuring it out. We've always had these ideas that we're going to be nowhere, that the world is going to end. We love to catastrophize. We've done it. The Mayans did it, and the Aztecs did it. I mean,
There's a romanticism with the apocalypse.
There
I've always been a fan.
See, I'm the
a bit, right?
opposite.
That's-
What?
I'm in the exact opposite.
No, the after apocalypse video games,
No,
movies,
post-apocalyptic stuff. but
entertainment.
I'm the one, like, I have conversations all the time about, like, with a futuristic type conversation with people, and they kind of, like, I get shut down often, and where it's like, no, we're never going to live forever. It's never going to happen. I'm like, no, but, like, people who are really smart are saying we could.
Yeah.
And,
And we could.
Right.
Yeah.
And that we could live forever. And it's like, I actually live in that world, and where I think we could. And I honestly, in the back of my brain, I have 2060 like marked, because what I saw was that if you can live to the age of the year of 2060, that is the prediction of when common people, not rich people, common people will be able to have the access to immortality.
I don't think I'm going to make it.
I don't know. Yeah, I think we might be too late for the genetic engineering part. Right?
Maybe, who knows?
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe we'll be Brave New World and test tube babies.
Yeah. I just hope I get robot arms. That'd be cool as shit.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Fix my joints. Thank you very much.
Man, this was a fun
Honestly,
conversation.
yeah, this was a really cool conversation.
Yeah.
Honestly,
thanks,
like
guys.
Giles, I mean, like we don't want to run too long here, but like I think we have lots to talk about in terms
Yeah.
of. I mean, you can be a friend of the show. You can come back a couple times a year if you
Please,
want.
Awesome.
please,
That'd be a
yeah.
blast,
No,
yeah.
we've just kind of started. Said we got to bring some of these great guests back that we talked to because I'm
Yeah.
sure they have a lot more to say, right?
Yeah,
And well, what's the article you're working on next for Medium for folks that might tune in?
Well, could the internet become useless?
Oh,
Like it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you already wrote
Whoa.
one about like getting rid of technology or getting rid of the internet, like a life
Getting
without
rid of the internet.
Getting
Yeah,
rid of
when
the
it,
internet.
when it basically we push on, and I think this is actually where we're going to go, is that it's all going to be behind the scenes.
Right.
So we're not going to need smartphones anymore. We're going to have a mixture of voice and touch and key. We won't have mice and keyboards, and not that it's going to read our brains. I don't think we're going to stick things in our skulls. I think we're actually going to wear devices.
Okay.
I think we're averse to embedding technologies within our body.
I think most people kind
now.
of seem to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, what if, because you have what do they call it? Slop. Right? That's the AI generated content. Google is they're in a, excuse my French, shit show right now with all their search and everything else. So it could get to a point where we have to figure out how to use it and deal with all this crap content. So we could end up with 2 or 3 internets.
So don't put any of your stock in Google, is what he's saying.
Well, they got some smarter people than me, that's for sure. But they'll figure it out at some point. But it's they figured out how to deal with spam, so they'll figure out how to deal with slop.
Fair enough.
But
Yeah.
But
But yeah, I mean, honestly, I say we ended on slop.
Slop. Yeah. Cheers to
But,
good
yeah.
drinking slop.
Good drinking slop.
slop.
All right.
Well, Giles, thank you very much.
There
You're
we
definitely
go.
welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.